All right, so let me just talk about this ridiculousness. I saw this feed come across one of my pages, and I just looked at it and laughed, chuckled, and I'm like, what the heck? Like, the liberal left media, it's like they just outright lie. They do anything for sensationalism. And this, I just like, being that I'm previous military in the Navy, after I read this, I knew for a fact there were so many things that were being misreported, totally false and inaccurate. So let's go through this. So there's a news article, and I think it was actually reported by MS Now, whoever that reporting agency is. I don't know. I guess that's MS. That might be Microsoft. I don't know. So it says sailors and Marines aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln are dealing with food shortages, moldy showers, and poor morale, according to military members concerned for their well-being. It's the second time this year an aircraft carrier on an extended deployment has seen poor conditions. So it says the poor situation on Lincoln is reported by MS Now, citing the conversations. So they're just saying they had conversation with family members of the sailors and Marines on the ship, as well as recordings of meetings between family and the leadership of the Navy. According to them, the crew aboard the aircraft carrier is worn out from the length of time at sea with long shifts as carrier continues to take part in the war with Iran. Meanwhile, they are dealing with food shortages, long lines for meals, broken toilets, and hygiene issues. Roughly 5,000 sailors, Marines have been serving aboard the Lincoln for 9 months. The carrier spent 208 continuous days at sea, more than any other carrier in the modern era. Said the ship started its deployment in late November from San Diego, traveling through the Pacific. In January, the carrier and its supporting strike group arrived in the Middle East, part of the Armada sent to the region as the Trump administration threatened Iran over violence towards protesters. When the war with Iran started in February 28th, the ship and its carrier air wing were part of that operation, with fighter jets hitting targets around Iran. The Lincoln has been a major part of that war, taking part in the Operation Epic Fury, a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, and the reviewed fighting in the months of the last month that the Pentagon has labeled overseas operations. 2 other carriers have participated in combat operations in the region as part of the war, but one has departed while the others arrived weeks after the other 2. The Lincoln has spent most of the 9 months on the water. So yeah, between a stop in Guam in December and a brief visit in Oman in June, the ship spent 208 continuous days at sea. Family members also expressed concern over how those conditions and operational pace could affect performance and lead to accidents on the ship. According to one of the family members MS Now talked to, a Navy veteran himself, holes have been spotted on the carrier's flight deck. From where? Okay. In a statement from MS Now, the Fifth Fleet denied reports of the holes in the flight deck and said that Lincoln remains fully capable of operations, all missions tasking. Sailors conduct a replenishment at sea between the U.S. Abrams and dry cargo ammunition ship USNS Cesar Chavez on July 4th of 2026. It says Navy photos. Oh, there was a Navy photo. I deleted that. It says military families that talk to MS Now also describe shortages of basic toiletry supplies such as soap and toothpaste. According to the hygiene issues are broken toilets, mold in showers, and inoperable laundry facilities. This is not the first time issues were reported on USS Abraham Lincoln during its deployment. In April, USA Today shared photos of food given to service members on the USS Lincoln and USS Tripoli. Showed half-empty trays with small portions with gray processed meat. The photo led some members of Congress call for investigations into conditions on the ship. The Office of the Chief of Naval Operations denied that there were any shortages or that the food was poor quality. Both the USS Abraham Lincoln and the USS Tripoli have sufficient food on board to serve their crews with healthy portions. The office wrote in a post on X, April 17th. The Lincoln is the second carrier in the recent months to suffer issues affecting sailors' quality of life. The USS Gerald R. Ford sailed the Middle East from the Caribbean as part of the record-setting deployment that took it from participating in January attack on Venezuela to Operation Epic Fury. During the deployment, the ship's toilets kept failing, with sewage overflowing and spilling onto the floor. During his time in the 5th Fleet of Operations, a fire broke out in the laundry room, causing enough damage that the Ford had to go to the port for repairs. This week, families of the sailors and Marines on the Lincoln met with Navy officials, including Acting Secretary MS Now, citing accounts of an in-person meeting and audio and video recordings of virtual meetings, said the military families confronted U.S. Navy leadership over the matters Thursday night. During the meeting, per the recording, Navy leaders acknowledged issues with the ship's toilets and said that they were working to address shower concerns. They also admitted that the backlog of supplies of food and mail, saying that it was difficult to get supplies from Bahrain to the ship due to the war. A third carrier, the USS George Bush, deployed to the Middle East in April. Both it and the Lincoln remain in the region. So let's unpack this, because that was a lot of fluff and misinformation and lies. So what's actually been substantiated by external reporting? So there has been complaints about the food and quality in small portions. So what has been published by these news outlets, it's misinformation, because some of those photos have been manipulated by those that are sending them, because I can tell you from being in the Navy myself, it doesn't matter how low they get on rations, you're still going to get a full plate of food. And the reason is because if you don't get the food itself served on a plate, they have a large supply of MREs to issue out, and those are a full nutritional pack of food as well. So they're not short on food, because these ships get resupplied every 7 to 10 days by unreps, and that's underway replenishments. And it's where literally a supply ship will come up alongside the other ship, and they'll string a line over and bring that across and have a wire, and they'll connect it, and then they can actually, from like a pulley system, they can move product to and from one side to the other. So they'll bring whole pallets that are on a cargo net, and it'll come across. So and besides that, they can also helo it on. These ships are not without supplies, I can tell you that. Mail may be delayed, but you know, that's just one thing. But supplies, no, they won't run out of supplies. They won't be short of anything in that regard. So that is a complete false. And so let me speak about the mold in the showers. That itself is also a complete fabrication of the truth, because when I was in the Navy, of course this was back at the late 80s, early 90s, when didn't matter whether we were underway or not, there was always a section of each division that it was their duty to do cleaning, and you cleaned everything from the head, which the head included, you know, the toilets, the sinks, the showers, all that area. And on most Navy ships, that entire area is all stainless steel. It's stainless steel everything. The toilets themselves may be porcelain, but everything else is stainless steel. And what you literally do is you get a hose, and you get the hot water, steaming hot water hookup, and you're literally spraying the entire thing down. So there shouldn't be any mold anywhere Anyway, besides, so they're thoroughly cleaned, and then besides being cleaned, every day the officer of the day goes through all the berthing areas, and the berthing areas are where you sleep, and so the head is attached to those berthing areas or right next by them, and they're inspected every single day. And if they do not pass inspection, then that detailed crew has to go back and redo it. And typically what happens is, like, a typical cleaning for a berthing and shower bathroom area in the head is, again, you know, the hot water is used for all the stainless steel, so you literally take a hose and the entire bathroom, you're spraying the whole thing down with hot water, and then you've got your cleaners, and they're, you know, good quality, and you got the greeny weenies, the green pads and the sponges. Everything is scrubbed and wiped down. It's all clean. You can't even have little things in the crevices because that gets inspected, and if you get residue or anything, so for there to be mold, that's no, I don't buy that. And even in the berthing areas, like about every 2 or 3 days, those floors are stripped and re-waxed. And we used to literally have those little square sponges, little yellow rectangular sponges, and we would use non-buffing wax, and so you'd put it on the sponge. We waxed the entire berthing deck like that, and you give it like a half hour to dry or whatever, and then you got a nice clean shine. Other berthing areas, I imagine, that are larger, they get the big buffer, the big round thing that spins, and you gotta control it. So you spray the wax on there and you buff it all. So those floors are stripped and waxed about every 3 to 4 days. And so I tell you, the ship's cleanliness is never going to be an issue. That one ship may have had some sewage backup, but that's something that they would address very quickly and get resolved. So this fabrication, or this bloating of the truth, is just ridiculous on the liberal parts. And yeah, so rations are not going to be anything less than a nutritious meal. And again, if they were lacking anything, they have MREs, and so they're going to get all their sustenance they need. But I didn't say anything about them breaking out the MREs, so they have good nutritious food on board. I tell you, when I was in the Navy, there wasn't a single time that we ever lacked any type of food, and there was always an abundance. We never went without food. So yeah, this is a hatchet job, and liberals are just trying to do their part to attack basically the Trump administration. I don't necessarily agree with what's going on over there, but to attack the military like this is it's ridiculous and totally unsubstantiated and not true. Again, as being a former Navy sailor myself, I can tell you for a fact this is fabricated and not true. So yeah, you gotta be careful about what news outlets you listen to, and from my experience, you can hardly trust anything the liberal left media puts out. There might be 10% that may be true, but even that, they bloat and exaggerate what that truth actually is. So they're horrible. So anyway, these writers that produce this stuff are nothing but trash, and yeah, it's frustrating to even see this kind of garbage come out as being considered news, because it's not. This is like National Enquirer crap. It's like seeing some space alien, or that they saw Sasquatch. That's what this is. It's like a Sasquatch story. So it's all fabricated and made up and trying to sensationalize things. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on it.